For this video about the Mediterranean Pyrenees region of France, which we live in, we decided to document what the town of Céret is like during the early 2021 COVID era. We instinctively feel that this is a crucial time in history, unlike any other in some ways, though a repetition of history in other ways. As they say, perhaps history doesn't always repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. As of mid-February 2021, we're currently in the redéconfinement, and I've introduced you to this term in other videos. In other words, we are in the second release from a second lockdown. The small shops are all open now, and essential goods in the supermarket are no longer taped up. We no longer have to fill in forms every time we leave the house. However, the cafes and restaurants are still closed and have been since November, so it still feels as though all the joy and life has been sucked out of the town. Mask wearing is mandatory in the streets, which is very depressing, as well as inside the shops. However, the French still manage to make the most of things. This first photo is of the largest cafe in the town. It's called Le France. Now, some of you will be wondering why it's called Le France and not La France. I think it's because it can be seen to resemble a boat. That's the only reason I can think of. Boats are feminine in English. We refer to a boat as she, but in French they are mainly given the masculine gender, hence the use of le. I have also discovered that in France you're supposed to paint the name of a boat in italics, and it's interesting that the cafe's name happens to be written in italics. This kind of thing doesn't interest everyone, but it does me. Anyway, this cafe did very well over the summer. There was an increase in tables and lots of people ate out on the terrace all through the summer. The next cafe, again closed, is the one we usually frequent on market day. We haven't been to the market since masks were imposed there because we thought it would be a depressing sight. But it's a very colourful market and one well worth visiting. This cafe is very shady because of the trees, or at least it's shady in the summer. And it's also a riot of colour since the cafe next door has parasols coloured like Catalan flags. Next we have Le Grand Café, where we often sit. It was also frequented by the painter Picasso. Picasso is generally associated with the Côte d'Azur, which is to the east of us along the Mediterranean coast. Few people know that before going to the Côte d'Azur, Picasso came to the Mediterranean Pyrenees region of France, and in particular to the town of Céret, because of the quality of the light, and I'll talk to you about that later in the video. He came to this region because of the quality of the light, and then he went on to the Côte d'Azur because of the quality of the money. He needed customers for his work. Here's a photo of him taken on the 20th of September 1953, sitting on the terrace of the Grand Café. It was at the Grand Café that he drew freehand a drawing of the Sardane, which is the famous local dance. You'll notice the dove above the drawing. His family were very fond of doves. The drawing of the Sardane with the dove above it is quite likely to have been considered by Picasso to have been a political act, because the Spanish dictator, Franco, banned the Sardane from being danced in Spanish Catalonia, and in 1953, Franco was very much at the height of his power, just a few kilometres away from here, the other side of the French border. But look at this very sad scene now, with nobody there and the chairs piled high. I wonder what he would have said if he could have seen Céret during this era. Here's the Musée d'Art Moderne de Céret, where you'll find some of Picasso's work. as well as that of many other artists who came here for the wonderful diamond blue-white light. They're currently extending the museum, so it's closed. We're intending to go there when it opens, and we'll probably do a video on it. I've talked to you about the light, and here we've directed the camera upwards so that you can see the light playing on the trunks of the towering platane. That's plane trees, which are famous in Céret and shade the residents and cafe goers in the summer months. However hard we try, we simply cannot ever capture the effect of the light. You have to be in this region to experience it. This is a bag containing our croissant waiting to be eaten. We now park the car here, then go to the cafe on the right, La Praline, where the takeaway coffee is delicious. Here's my husband standing in the door of the cafe. If any police are watching, he took his mask off for no more than 2 seconds for the photo. In any case, you are allowed to take the mask off for eating. Our car has now become our own personal cafe because we cannot sit at a cafe anymore. As you can see, the town is pretty deserted, but we can still indulge in some people watching through the window. Many of them are masked, so it's not the same, but it's better than nothing. We also put on classic French music like Barbara, Brel and Brassens to evoke the French ambiance. Coming here is a lesser pleasure these days, but still very enjoyable. Here you see the flags in front of the town hall with the light shining through them. The most important flag for the residents here is the Catalan one, red and yellow, seen at the front. The French flag, the tricolore, is behind, and lurking in the background is the European flag. I think young people in France will have been less traumatised by this era than young people in England. I say less advisedly because I think young people everywhere will have been badly affected psychologically, but at least the weather here means that they can communicate with each other. Here are a sprinkling of girls just out of school sitting around enjoying a chat immediately opposite our Market Day cafe that I referred to earlier. It's really good to see the social resilience of the youth here. We've also documented this. You can guess what it's for. Time alone will tell how history will judge this. One of the things about Céret, as in most small French towns in the Mediterranean Pyrenees region, is that you see something extraordinary around practically every corner. I gave you a glimpse at the beginning of the video, but now look at this. Sunlit palm trees set against a background of snow-covered mountains. That's the Canigou, the highest peak in the area, which is snow-capped from late autumn to late spring. It's magnificent and looks different in every weather condition. You see what I mean about beautiful views around every corner? Lots of colour too. Quaint, narrow streets which you could only see in France. And of course, lots of dogs. The French adore dogs. Here's one, and his charming owner allowed us to photograph him and wished us bonne journée. If you're learning French, bonne journée means have a nice day. It doesn't mean have a good journey. That, of course, is bon voyage. You probably know that since we also use it in English. You see what I mean about charming scenes behind every corner? In February, the mimosa trees are in flower. We tried to capture the beauty of the yellow mimosa trees in this photo, and a French couple saw us taking the photo and agreed that it was magnificent. Sadly, the camera has completely failed to capture it. We tried again, but again no good. Nothing like the reality. Our small hostage in the back of the car is getting impatient, so we're off to the lake to take him for a walk. Here he's looking at the canigou, and he's recognised where he is. He's getting more and more excited, so we'll say goodbye for now and take you around the lake in the next video.